Yes, welcome to the Purple Positivity Podcast for July the 6th, 2018. I am your host, the amazingly adorable Rebecca Thistle, podcasting to you live-ish from my new used desk in my apartment, which I call Jeffrey Thistlework. Yes! I hope you had a really good 4th of July. I didn't have, my most major plan for the holiday was, I was going to spend time with my son. My parents were supposed to let me know what their plans were, let me in on those plans, and we were going to do whatever, and apparently it was going to involve watermelons and fireworks. So, but then my son got a little sicky right after his nap, and my mom called me up. She said, look, I think it's best if we just don't do anything. And she told me what happened, and I went, you know what? I would make the same call. So I'm not angry about it. I'm a little bit sad, because I'm a mom. My son doesn't feel good, and I'm just like, I want to take care of you, because that is the motherly instinct. But I'm glad someone is taking good care of him and does have his best interests in the forefront, even if it means missing out on watermelon and fireworks. But good news is at the end of that conversation, I said to my mom, I said, look, if he starts feeling better and you make any plans to do something this weekend, please do let me know, because I'd like to be included in them. And she said, okie dokie. Actually, I don't think those were her exact words, but that was her exact sentiment. And so I'm really grateful that she was so agreeable with that request. And I'm kind of proud for making that request. I haven't made that request in the past for many, many reasons. Actually, probably just 2 or 3. But I feel this is progress, and so I am hopeful. So, this is not something that I generally talk about a lot, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but I have a hard time with fireworks. I have a hard time with loud noises in general. The funny thing is I don't have a problem with thunder. I don't know. I hear a loud clap of thunder and it'll startle me, but it will not freak me out. Because I know, yes, loud clap of thunder. Well done, Perun, my favorite thunder god. And I just sort of move on. But with fireworks, gunfire, car backfires, or loud noises like that, I lose my shit. So, right after the sun went down, I started hearing the fireworks go off because we're close. I live close to a park here where they do a fireworks show. And I just I hunkered down and I was just losing my mind for a while. But I turned on an audiobook and let the dulcet tones of Luke Daniels' amazing narrative abilities be the focus of my mind, the forefront of my mind. Listen to Luke Daniels talking about wolfhounds and shit. And I got to sleep. So, yeah, I had a little bit of a panic attack, but I subverted it with audiobooks. Audible be praised. Luke Daniels be praised. Anyways, so that was fun. But that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is I end every single show, both this podcast and on my Lit Nerd podcast, I end every single show with Fly with the Penguins. And I've explained this in the past, but it was so long ago that I'm guessing that nobody remembers at this point what I mean when I say Fly with the Penguins. So, on the surface, it sounds like a contradiction in terms. Penguins can't fly. You're right, they can't. They can't fly in the air. Now, I challenge you to find me another bird, and I'm sure some nerd will take me up on this offer, by the way, but find me another bird that can swim, that can fly underwater. They may be out there, but primary amongst the water-flying avian is the penguin. And we got several different species of penguins, of course, but they fly underwater. They are not built to fly in the air. But that doesn't mean that they can't fly underwater. And maybe that's not what most people would think of as flying, but that is a kind of form, it is a form of transportation that is not on land. Hello. So, I lost my vision when I was 17. Actually, I lost it steadily over the course of about 2 years. But we found out about it when I was 17. So, since then, since December 27th, 2003, when I was first slapped with that label of legally blind, I've had to learn to do things differently in all areas of my life. I do my schoolwork differently. I read books differently. I travel around town differently. I've had to reprogram my life and my mind to adapt to something out of my control. And I'm not perfect. I'm not where I want to be. It is a constant process of personal evolution. But, that being said, just because I'm not doing things the same way that everybody else does it, doesn't mean that I'm not doing them. And that's when I talk about flying with the penguins, I mean, find what makes you different and use that shit to propel yourself forward. Penguins can swim. Other birds can't. Maybe there is. Like I said, there's probably a nerd who's going to look this up and send me an email and be like, oh, what the hell are you talking about? This bird over here does this. And yes, you have ducks and swans and geese and stuff, and they float on top of the water, and sometimes they bob underneath the water, but they don't generally go too far underwater. They don't generally swim underwater. They do use the water for a form of transportation, but not under the water, on top of the water. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Okay. Have I made that point enough yet? But penguins can swim underwater. That makes them different. And they use that to survive. Not only to survive, but to thrive. And so when I talk about flying with the penguins, find what makes you different and use that not only to survive, but to thrive. What makes me different? I make connections in my head that a lot of other people don't. I think in ways that other people don't. And it's not because they've failed in some way. Their brains just don't work that way. Their brains just don't make these self-same connections. You know, surely, I mean, I'm hoping I'm not the only person who has done this, because it's just, to me, it seems such an obvious metaphor. But I'm the first person I know who has looked at the characters of the Dark Elves in the Iron Druid Chronicles and said, you know what? That is a great metaphor for dealing with problems. And if you're not a regular listener of this show, try not to insert self-deprecating snarky remark. What I mean by that is there's these characters in the Iron Druid Chronicles called the Dark Elves, and when they're fighting, what they do is they will take on a smoky form. And in their smoky form, they're still able to, like, grasp this, like, knife thing and cause damage to their opponent. But they can only hold this smoky form for 5 seconds. And so for 5 seconds, they're smoky, and then for 1 second, they have to go solid. So the only way to win in a fight with a dark elf is you have to injure them. Not necessarily fatally, but you have to injure them in that 1 second. That 1 second. I mean, seriously, all you have to do is, like, prick their skin. Just cut the skin a little bit. And then they cannot go smoky again, and then they have to fight you in their corporeal form. They can't go smoky, because when they're smoky, you can't do shit. So you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in that 6 second, make your move. And you cannot waste time hesitating, questioning whether this is your opportunity or not. You cannot waste time beating yourself up because 6 seconds ago, 5, 6 seconds ago, you didn't take that opportunity, or the opportunity 5, 6 seconds before that, or, you can't waste time. You've got to make your move, and you've got to do it. That's how you defeat Dark Elves. And to my knowledge, I am the only person who listened to this. Like, I listened to it on audio and looked at these characters and went, that's a really appropriate metaphor for dealing with life's problems. Because life's problems are they're gonna seem unbeatable at times. You're gonna have forces that you cannot fight effectively. But there's going to come one moment of weakness, one opportunity where you can get the upper hand. And and I mean, and not necessarily in a malicious way. I'm not saying go out and break the law. But there's one moment in time where you can get the upper hand in any negative situation in your life, and you've got to take that opportunity. And you can't waste time beating yourself up because you got into this mess to begin with. You didn't take an opportunity that came by a week ago or whatever. And it's a very apt metaphor. defeating the Dark Elves. Dark Elves and problems are one and the same. And to my knowledge,